Sometime in the mid-1990s, so not that long ago, a fellow by the name of Ross Thompson coined the term emotional dynamics. And it kind of got psychologists away from thinking what comes first, the chicken or the egg, and instead of thinking as emotion is always involving four aspects. There's that phenomenological sense that I am feeling some sort of emotion. There's the physiological side, those things I feel in my body and what's going on in my brain. There's the interpretation side, which is what my thought processes are that's going on in my brain that I'm aware of, and then response tendencies. And those four ingredients comprise the emotional dynamics, what we mean by emotional dynamics. Now, Ross Thompson was a developmental psychologist, so that is one of the reasons I showed you that slide earlier. There are really 7 different subdisciplines within psychology, all looking at this concept of emotion, and it's one of the reasons when I was in Columbus, Ohio, going through my psychophysiology workshop, I actually met people from a lot of different disciplines who were studying emotion. So the developmental psychologist would give us that sense of how we learn emotions and learn to label emotions and express emotions, whereas biological psychologists will look at that psychophysiological side. Health psychologists will look at the impact it ultimately has on our physical and mental well-being. Abnormal psychologists are going to look at the pivot point of when something is when emotions are functional and cross the line into dysfunctional and cross the line even further into clinically abnormal. Social psychologists will teach us how our emotional experience is affected by the people around us, as well as how we can affect others when we're experiencing an emotion. And if you ever think that's silly, just walk into, or remember the last time you walked into a big exam where everyone was nervous and you weren't before you sat in the classroom. So there are all these different disciplines that are looking at and defining emotional dynamics, and that provides us with a much richer set of literature to draw from, particularly in this area of emotional regulation. The rather beautiful outcome of having all these subdisciplines working together is that we've come up with 4 things we agree on as psychologists with regard to emotional regulation. One is that we either, as human beings, try to increase or maintain or decrease positive as well as negative emotions. So we're not limiting ourselves anymore to just studying the negative. Sometimes we really want to hold on to and strengthen things that are positive feelings. The second belief that we have incorporated is that these emotional regulation strategies can be conscious or unconscious. We can they can operate inside or outside of our awareness and of our choice. The third aspect that we look at is that any of the self-regulation strategies are neither good nor bad. They just are. We learn them honestly, as one of my professors used to say. They may be wise or unwise choices in given situations, but we don't go around judging them outside of that. And then finally, the last thing that we can pretty much accept as psychologists in the field is that there are many, many different strategies and interventions for emotional regulation that go from the range of somehow downplaying the negative, down regulation they call that, or amplifying the positive. And there are people who are looking at those various strategies and kind of combining them, grouping them into categories, and we'll get into that as the semester goes.